WHBQ Memphis and W253DF Memphis, Flynn Broadcasting Stations.
It's time for Wolo and Friends on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here is your host, the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
So close last night in Knoxville. I don't know if anybody was paying attention. I was watching it on ESPN+. Memphis's women with their new coach, Alex Simmons, who, by the way, is a former player for Pat Summitt at Tennessee and a former teammate of the coach at Tennessee, which is why I think it's the first time since the early 2000s the two teams have played, and why the Vols will be here in Memphis next year. This one, though, with the 15th-ranked Vols, if we had lines, they would have been heavy favorites. At home, my goodness, Memphis had a 9-point lead in the game. Memphis was then behind by 9 late in the game, tied the game, actually had a chance to win it in regulation. Madison Griggs, who is going to become the all-time three-point leading shooter. She's the greatest shooter in the women's history. She's going to break Rodney Carney's streak in the next 2 or 3 games. She'll have over, I can't remember how many threes at the moment, but she's going to beat it and beat it handily. She's going to become the greatest shooter of all time. Missed a 3, would have won the game. But here is this freshman who might be the highest-ranked recruit Memphis has had in several years. She's from Bartlett. Her name is Raven Simmons. She's the number 9, or was the number 9 high school prospect out of the state of Tennessee. Stayed home. Alex Simmons recruited her. She stayed home. She grabbed the rebound off the Griggs miss and tied the game up. They went to overtime, and that's where the Vols just took over. They ended up winning by 10. So that's like 20 straight times now they've won by double digits over Memphis. But this one did go to OT. Memphis did have their chances. Memphis just could not rebound. They killed them on the boards, and that was the difference in the game. But Memphis turned them over. Memphis has some clutch players. This team is going to be pretty good. I don't know how they lost the first game so badly at Middle Tennessee, but I think this team is going to be pretty good. This girl, Raven Sims, is really a top-notch player. And there's other good pieces. Alex Simmons seems to be somebody that can get folks put things together, so keep an eye on that. I think you're going to enjoy Memphis basketball, and there's a lot of excitement about it. I mean, they sold over 300 season tickets. That's the most in history, I believe. And they're on the move. So, anyway, that was kind of fun last night. Buffalo can't count. If you watch Monday Night Football, and we are going to talk with Jeff Moore at the bottom of the hour here, as we always do on Tuesdays, we put to bed each week, take a little peek forward to the next week. And Buffalo marches down, and they go ahead because Denver kept missing extra points. Their kicker was not so good. And this will come in later. So Buffalo, clutch drive. Josh Allen runs the ball into the end zone. By the way, they run the ball down the field. I think it was 75 yards. Correct me if I am wrong, Zach Boyd. They run the ball, and Josh Allen runs into the end zone for the tying touchdown. And then, of course, they kicked the extra point. They're ahead 22-21. Did not throw one pass the whole drive. Use up clock. Now, I can't remember how much time is left, but it sets up Russell Wilson and Denver and Sean Payton, the coach, with nifty play calling, and they work the ball down into field goal range for this guy who's already missed a couple extra points. So they only had 2 timeouts left. And the way it worked out was they end up taking a timeout, and what they decided to do is to take a knee with about 25 seconds left, and then they will, on the fly, bring in their special teams. which is going to get confusing, obviously, for Buffalo that doesn't know how to count. So that's exactly what they do. In comes Russell Wilson, the offensive line victory formation. They're down 22-21. There's 25 seconds left. Play clock starts. Play clock is ticking, gets the snap, takes the knee, 20 seconds left. And now here comes both special teams onto the field. They have to rush it, but not too bad. They're all set. He's going to wait till there's 4 seconds left, snap the ball, kick it through, win the game. That's exactly what they do, except the guy misses. Wide right. Uh-oh. Buffalo, in their confusion of switching special teams on the fly, can't count. They have an extra man. They got 12 on the field. The NFL spots it. Flag comes out. Now the kick is 5 yards less. Kick was distance. Wasn't an issue. It was aiming. He gets another try, untimed down. Defense can't end the game on a defensive penalty, and kicks it through, and Buffalo loses the game. The Broncos have now won, 3 in a row? Looks like Sean Payton is starting to work the magic that he had in New Orleans, taking a terrible team and making them decent. I didn't think it was going to happen. 3 in a row, but Buffalo gave the game away. Buffalo had 4 turnovers in that game, and terrible penalties that aided that drive. They had a pass interference. Really and truly, Russell Wilson put one up for grabs. If the defensive back looks back, he's going to get a pick or he's going to knock it down, and instead he doesn't, so he runs into the guy who's coming back to get the ball because the ball was short, and that sets them up in field goal position, so that's a penalty, and then the penalty with the 12th man on the field. Wow. I mean, they gave that game away in so many different ways. We'll talk about that for sure. The Grizzlies tonight, they will take on the Lakers. Late tip, 9:30. I think it was worth $25,000 to Taylor Jenkins, don't you, to get that fine and show he's pulling for his guys, and they win the next game. And he did make this one switch. He started Gilliard at the point. That moved Smart to the second guard. That seemed to work. Biombi's been good, double-doubles. I don't think they're going to win tonight. Although, you know what? LeBron might not play.
He might not play.
He's got a sore calf, right?
Yeah.
That's the issue.
I think LeBron need to sit out a couple of games.
Well, you know what? All I can tell you is I've seen this year a couple of times where guys had calf soreness, stiffness, all that thing, and the next thing you know, they have Achilles. So maybe he will sit out.
Yeah.
We'll see. It'll be nice for the Grizzlies.
I mean, he's such an old man. You know, you got to have some rest, you know?
Well, and he's playing a lot more minutes than they intended. He was supposed to play no more than 30 minutes a game. He's played 42 in a lot of these because they want to win. I don't necessarily blame him. You know, it is an 82-game schedule. I think you should honor that for your fans who are paying all that money. That's my thought. Anyway, we're going to talk college basketball with the Hall of Famer Mike DeCourcy in a minute. I'm sitting in the Family Leisure Studios. A reminder, the overstock inventory still there. They want you to clear it out, and they entice you with select patio sets up to 50% off. Play gyms under $2,000, and the winter pool closing items that you need, and you better start thinking about it because I think the heat is over now. Should be. Heck, we're almost at Thanksgiving. Close the pool, save 30%. That's all I'm saying. Please get to the Overstock sale at I-40 and Wooden Road. That is Family Leisure. Our title sponsor is all about luxury and new technology, all the bells and whistles, all the new game things that you would love in a car. They are there, bright and shiny, in a Genesis. That's the luxury car that everybody would love to have. I've had a couple, and I'll tell you, once you've ridden in that car, there's nothing else you can ride in and feel the same way. You can't. It's just really a tremendous way to go. And right now, and you can thank Chris True and, of course, Vinny Gerard, who's over the Genesis at Genesis of Olive Branch. They got special prices on the SUVs. That's the GV70 and 80, and special financing options. Go see Vinny at Genesis of Olive Branch. That's the corner of Highway 78, Lamar, really, in Memphis, and Craft Road, the first exit in Mississippi. Mike DeCourcy joins us now. I don't know, Mike, did you get a chance to see the Tigers absolutely destroy Missouri in Missouri Friday night?
I did see a fair amount of that. There were other games that night as well, Duke and Arizona, et cetera. But what a defensive performance by the Tigers. And what was impressive about it was that if they went up there and it was like wrecked them from the start, then you'd say, well, Missouri's just not very good. But it was a competitive game, and then all of a sudden they just, they locked in on D and figured out what worked against this team and just completely took command of the game at that end of the floor. And it was extraordinarily impressive for this time of year.
I think also Javon Quinterly showed what he could do, because honestly, in the exhibition games, and he didn't even play in the first one, and in the game against Jackson State, he looked like he was very rusty and maybe still injured, and now he looked like Kendrick Davis did last year in that game in the second half in Missouri. And by the way, Missouri was getting votes in the polls prior to that game, and they're at home with a sellout.
Right. Oh yeah. I mean, that's what I'm saying. It was a competitive battle for a while. Which, votes are one thing at this time of year, though. Everybody could be wrong. I mean, I thought Maryland was going to be terrific, and Maryland can't make a basket. I mean, against they lost to UAB and to Davidson, both very good mid-major plus high major minus teams, but still not Big Ten teams or SEC teams. And they just couldn't make a basket. But Mizzou, they showed in the first half they can. And then when the Tigers got it together, it changed the game. I've always liked Javon Quinterly as a point guard, and last year was an odd year for him because he was coming off of the major injury from the year before. So it took a long while for him to really get going. And by the time he dips his toe in the water, what seemed like it seemed like the calm beach in Aruba when he was getting ready to dive in. Then all of a sudden everything went to heck at Alabama, and that's when he's ready to go. So in a lot of ways this will be a much more conventional year for him, and I think that'll be really good for him. I wouldn't expect the same type of player as Kendrick, because Kendrick was a guy who could get you 20 and 6, and that's kind of who he was. Javon is more like 15 and 8 and run the show and defend at a really high level. And those are the things that he can do for the Tigers over the course of the next 4 or 5 months.
I think he will, and it should be like the 15 and 8 you're saying, which was 14 and 8, by the way, in that game. And a part of that is because you've got David Jones and you've got Walton, and those two guys are really good. David Jones, his first double-double, he's the kind of guy that reminded me of, and I'm not saying he does it the same way, but I am saying he will get points on a regular basis and rebounds on a regular basis the way DeAndre Williams would for you last year. I think he's that good.
Yeah, I think it's very possible. I thought he looked really good on Friday night. I liked what you got out of Caleb Mills, and wouldn't it be nice for him to have a happy ending to his college career?
Yes.
It's been it's never been quite right. He's been in 2 really good programs before this, under 2 really good coaches, but probably at the wrong time for him in both cases. And so now he gets this opportunity with the Tigers. And having been there, as you know, many years ago, but still, Memphis appreciates basketball players in a way that very few cities do. If you deliver for them, you're in their embrace for a long time. And so it would be really cool if he could finish his career with the kind of performance that happened Friday night being a regular thing.
Well, the defense was amazing, because the guy that hurt the Tigers East didn't get a shot with him on there. And I had no idea he was such a good defensive player. I mean, look, he was preseason AAC Player of the Year with Houston, and then he left 4 games in. And if you talk to the kid, who's really an honest, smart young man, he'll tell you that was my immaturity. I never should have left Houston. He says that. He says he still talks to Kelvin Sampson today. But he was not appreciative enough, and I think he's learned, and I think he is going to appreciate this. I got to ask you, I'm sure you're in Chicago. Normally you are for this Champions thing. They do.
Yeah, on my way, actually.
Okay.
Yeah,
so Michigan State, Duke, Kentucky, Kansas tonight, right?
Yep.
You were high on Michigan State. That's for sure. I read the article. I know it's been 23 years since the Big Ten has won a title. They've lost already, Michigan State. Are you still as high on the Big Ten? What do you think are the best conferences this year?
Well, I'm not. I will be honest with you. After last season, they had 8 teams in the tournament and had a really strong regular season. Not a great tournament performance. I saw the players who were departing and thought, maybe not this time. And then as the off season went along and you added some players and that sort of thing, I thought that this could be a really strong year. I'm a little bit less sure of that a week in, but really you got to get to that first month mark before you really know. Maryland is a disappointment to this point, as I mentioned. But Michigan is a revelation. I mean, they went up to St. John's in the Garden and destroyed St. John's. It was basically a 30-point game, and that Phil Martelli running the Wolverines now while Juwan Howard continues to heal from off-season heart surgery. But Doug McDaniel, their sophomore point guard, I saw Doug last year. He was on our air early in the Big Ten conference season. When I was doing Big Ten basketball and beyond with Raphael Davis, and had an absolutely magnificent performance. And it looked like, okay, he can keep them together and get them to the tournament, but he just wasn't ready physically. And then all of a sudden now, having had the off season, he looks like one of the best guards in the Big Ten. So Michigan will be better. I still think the Spartans can be great. They were really bad in that game against a very good James Madison team. They're 3 veterans, Malik Hall, Jaden Akins, A.J. Hogarth shot, I believe it was something like a combined 6 of 36, somewhere in that neighborhood, maybe 34, maybe 35. But when you have 3 guys like that play like that, I thought that Tom was a little bit reluctant to trust his freshmen in that game. And after it, he realized he should have, when they went into overtime, he should have played Cone Carr throughout the overtime and lived with whatever happened. Instead, he trusted the veterans, and they continued to underperform. They won't do that again on a regular basis. They'll have nights. I mean, it could be tonight. Duke's terrific. Duke's a really good team. They could very well get beaten again tonight. But if Tom embraces the freshman that he has, Jeremy Fears, the point guard, Xavier Booker, the big guy, and Carr, who's just he's one of those next-level dynamic players who plays above the rim and plays hard and tough. I think if he continues to incorporate them, they can still be terrific.
Man, there's so many good games tonight. I should point out, by the way, Michigan and Memphis, first round in Atlantis next week. That'll be fun to watch. But you've got Michigan State, Duke, as you mentioned, Kentucky, Kansas. Later in the night on FS1 is Iowa, Creighton. They both score about 100 points a game. That'll be fun. That'll be fun to watch. So back to my initial question there. Most people think Big 12, Big East are the 2 best conferences. You're mentioning the Big 10 a little bit in there. The SEC is obviously pretty good. How would you rank these things?
I would say probably Big 12, SEC, Big 10. I think probably that's the way it will go. But this next month, 6 weeks, is where it really all gets decided. And sometimes we are surprised, and especially now, honestly, Dave. We've always had it. Those of us who do this and do it reasonably well at least have an idea. And even, I've been sporting news for 30 years, and how many times have I gotten...
No way. Can't be 30 years. You were just here.
Yeah. I've been full-time for 23, and
my gosh.
Yet on the rest of the time, I think it's my 29th season.
Wow.
But so how many times have I gotten the champion right? I think it's 4 or 5, maybe in that period. So
That's why we love it.
Even doing it reasonably well, you don't get it 100% right. But here's the thing: right now, it's more educated guessing than ever because you don't know how this player will translate to high major. You don't know how this player will translate to that program, and you don't know whether or not the freshman will even get any air because they may have all the accolades, but their coach might not want to put him in because he's got 5 seniors on his team. It's just there's so much that we don't know until they get on the floor and play. And the beauty of November and December in college basketball, these challenges that we have, like the Gavitt games that I was at last night with Purdue and Xavier, what you'll see down in Atlantis next week or out in Maui, the unbelievable field they have, we'll have a lot better handle on who really is strong at that point.
Speaking of which, Maui is where Memphis will be not a year from now, next Thanksgiving. So I can't wait for that one. All right, last thing. Boogie makes your All-American team. I love that. Explain to me, Zach Edey, seriously. Now, I've only seen him one time in person, and that was when they lost to Fairleigh Dickinson in the NCAAs. But he's so big, but yet so immobile. And I know he can block shots because he's so enormous. But you're sure that guy is that good?
He's less immobile than you think he is. I mean, he's not, he's not dancing around there like Kevin Durant. But for a 7'4" guy, and who carries a lot of weight, he does move really well. You're talking about somebody who last night, he played probably a B- Zach Edey game and scored 28 and grabbed 12 rebounds and blocked, I think, 4 shots. I mean, he wasn't great. He was mad at himself after the game for missing. I think he missed 7 or 8 shots. I think he was about 50%, 52% from the field last night. He doesn't think he should ever be below 70, and maybe he's right, but Xavier chose to play behind him the entire game, and they didn't double much. But what they did was they played behind him, and they sealed off their guys, and their whole thing was don't allow Purdue to get second chances. And in the first half, Purdue had 2 offensive rebounds. But I was talking after the game with Sean Miller, the coach, and he said what you don't realize is how that wears on you. To have to deal with 7'4", I don't know, 290, something like that.
At least,
it just wears on you, and it changes how you play, and it's really hard to defend him for anybody who's a normal size. And it's funny when you say normal size, and normal size is 6'10", 225, but it's really hard for those guys to defend him.
Yeah. All right, enjoy tonight, my friend. As always, we appreciate it. We'll do this again next Tuesday.
Absolutely, Dave. It's a pleasure.
Thank you. Mike DeCourcy from the Sporting News. 30 years. Holy smokes. That is hard to believe. He's brought to you by Conway. Conway Services, heating, cooling, plumbing, and electric. Reputable services forever in this market. That is for sure. If you've got a need, they come to you. If you've got a problem with your heating, and it's time to get that thing ready, or cooling, or electric, or plumbing, there's nobody better to the rescue than Conway. Back in just a minute, Jeff Moore on the National Football League.
Broadcasting from the Family Leisure Studio, we are Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Here at Memphis Barbecue Supply, we have everything you need for your Thanksgiving feast. If you're smoking, deep frying, or putting that turkey in the oven, we got over 20 different turkey injections and brines to keep your meat juicy and moist, with brine bags and buckets, and 308 different rubs and sauces to choose from. If you're in need of fuel, Memphis Barbecue Supply carries 9 different types of wood chip, chunk, mini logs, and logs of wood, and over 4 tons of wood pellets in stock. And don't worry, we also carry thermometers, injectors, and all other sorts of gadgets that you might need to simplify your cook. And for any questions that you might have, our knowledgeable staff is always eager to help. Memphis Barbecue Supply is located at 7041 Stage Road in Memphis, or you can order online at mbbqsupply.com. Follow us on all the social media platforms for recipes, new products, and barbecue news.
Hewlett & Dunn Boot and Clothing Company, we have it all. From handmade Amish leather belts, fine and casual clothing, boots, casual boots, work boots, fancy boots, and even safety-toed boots. Lots of cowboy hats to choose from, even Nebo lights, good-looking duck head dress shirts, duck head caps, shorts, and pants. Tons of jeans from Ariat, Wrangler, Devil Dog, and Kimes Ranch jeans. At Hewlett & Dunn, we have a great selection of Old South t-shirts and caps. Fine clothing from dress to casual to Sunday best. Enjoy choosing from UFO's orthopedic-approved shoes. Hewlett & Dunn Boot and Clothing Company. Boots of every size, every color, every skin. Great quality Western, work, and safety toe boots. Hewlett & Dunn Boots and Clothing Company. 111 North Center Street, Collierville. Hewlett & Dunn. Hewlett & Dunn, serving you and your family since 1961.
East Memphis Ace Hardware is more than just a hardware store. It's really a customer service store. With 20 employees along with complete inventory of items, big to little, finding what you need is easy. Choosing from a complete selection of Big Green Egg as well as Traeger and Weber grills. And the Garden Center has everything for your yard. You can get glass cut, repair screens, even new keys with key fob programming. Tools, nuts, bolts, screws, you need it. East Memphis Ace Hardware has it. And they're just down the street at the corner of Quince and White Station.
Now, back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM, presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
Jeff Moore on the NFL coming your way momentarily. He's brought to you by Southern Security, your home team credit union. They keep getting bigger. They just broke ground on a brand new facility in Collierville. Look, they've been doing this for 70 years. Southern Security has been serving the Mid-South with unbeatable rates, low fees, the best of service, and always the newest technology. Can't wait to see what they got in that building in Collierville when that thing springs up. If you're a business owner or if you're in need of an auto loan, maybe you need better benefits with your credit card at Southern Security. They can handle all of your business banking needs. They get the lowest competitive rates on loans, everything that might be involving your credit card. They can do a better job and a whole lot more. And you get to talk to somebody. Now, you can go to their website. That's simple. Go to southernsecurity.org. But if you're like me and you like to talk to somebody and feel like your family, call 901-452-7900. That's Southern Security, your home team credit union. Crazy stuff going on. Apparently the Bills, Josh Allen fumbles the ball, 4 turnovers in that game, and the best way to fix things is fire your OC. They just did that.
Yeah, I don't know if that's the best solution. They just for too long, I think, have just depended on Josh Allen to be Superman, and they've not developed any kind of credible running game. And so teams are just learning how to just scheme against them and try to deal with their passing attack and just wait for Josh Allen to make a mistake. And that's kind of been a formula that's worked against them. They're 5-5 now. They're still in good shape in that division, but they've got a lot of questions that need to be answered, and their play calling is just one of them. The
OC would not be involved in the defensive field goal special teams, would he? Because that's the guy that should have been fired. Yeah. How do you have 12 out there, which cost you the game? Because the guy misses, and then, of course, they got to re-kick it 5 yards closer without a timing issue, because you can't end the game on a defensive penalty, and that's what happened last night. That's why they lost the game. Yeah. They gave the guy who was a terrible kicker in that game, he'd already missed extra points, another chance because they had a 12th guy out there. Yeah. And now they fire the OC?
Yeah, they've got a lot of questions to answer with the Bills. I got to believe that locker room is just really in a challenging situation now, and they've got to figure it out. I mean, they've still got a good opportunity. They've still got a lot of games left, and they're in a good position in their division, but they're playing horrible.
The NFL is the most popular, most watched sports enterprise in America, by far. By far, far, far. And now we can see why. All the upsets we had this week. How many walk-off kicks?
So 5 out of 5 there were 5 games that ended with walk-off field goals out of 12, almost 50%. I mean, that's just great football all the way. I mean, it's great competitive games all the way through, and fans love it. And it's been great for the league, and it's just great to see players playing all the way through those games and not giving up, especially when the games are tight. Man,
you can't beat that. And then, like last night, what's even crazier is the guy gets a second chance, and he was terrible the whole game. That's a good redemption story.
It is.
Because he'd missed all that, and they still won the football game. Sean Payton's doing a heck of a job there, huh? I thought when this season started that Denver was really awful, and now they've won 3 in a row.
Yeah, they were struggling at first, but it seems like this offense is starting to kind of gather itself. Russell Wilson really played a great game in terms of his completion percentages. He was really spot on, and they've got some weapons. They just got to keep competing and making it, being consistent in that division. They should be okay.
Midway through, a little bit more. I don't think there's any question that the surprise story of the year, maybe the best story of the whole year, is your former quarterback at Tennessee, the guy that was an aerospace engineer, which is hard to believe. The guy, I looked at this today. Did you realize that Joshua Dobbs has already made $5 million in the NFL? So if he wants to do aerospace technology, he can do it for free because he's set. $5 million already. But I mean, here's the guy sitting out, not doing anything 2 weeks ago. Didn't know the playbook, and Minnesota brings him in. Now he's won a couple of games in a row, and I think he's won the job. It's an unbelievable story.
It's a great story on so many levels because when you go into a new team like that, there's just so much you got to learn. It's not only just the playbook, your teammates, how receivers like to get up, what are their favorite routes, how to read, how you like your line play to be. It's just a lot to absorb in a short period of time, and for him to be able to make that adjustment, and I'm sure they've had to cut back on their playbook to some degree, but he's playing with a lot of confidence. He seems very, very calm out there. He's making good decisions with the football, and man, it is a great story. I mean, they've won 5 games in a row now thanks to his play, and in a good position in that division. Of course, Detroit is running. I mean, Detroit has been fantastic. I think they're like 15-4 over their last 19 games, so they're playing extremely well. But I'm loving the Josh Dobbs story. I hope they can keep it going.
I'm amazed. Did you think when Joshua Dobbs was at Tennessee, you've been doing this with us for 30 years, I'm thinking about all these quarterback stories this year, from Brock Purdy to the kid in Chicago, Bajent, who played at Shepherd, a Division II school, undrafted, to leading the Bears to a couple of their 3 wins. It's amazing. But did you think Dobbs would be an NFL quarterback?
I thought he had the potential to be a good quarterback because he understands how to read defenses, and he's got a good arm, and he's mobile. So I thought he'd have a shot. It's been interesting to see the way his career has taken him around to the number of teams that he's had to play for, but I think in a lot of ways that makes him better. I mean, he's understood how other teams scheme. And he's just a brilliant guy that understands how to play this game.
A blessing for the Vikes that Cousins got hurt?
I never would say that when a player gets hurt like that, because Kirk Cousins wasn't playing horrible. It's just they just had so many other things that they weren't doing well that were contributing to their losses. So hate to see a guy get hurt like that, but it's great when you can find a player like Dobbs and he can come in and play. And he wasn't actually the guy scheduled to play. I guess they had an injury, and then they had to put him in there. And he's played well.
Cleveland upsets Baltimore. That division, the NFC North, everybody's over 500. Clearly the best in the NFL, but that's another upset.
It is an upset. And the great part of that game for me was just seeing Deshaun Watson finally show some vintage Deshaun Watson. He was brilliant in the second half and really was able to engineer a couple of drives that made all the difference in that game. And, of course, them getting an opportunity to kick a field goal at the end to win it was just huge for them because they've got a great defense. It's just that their offensive play had been up and down because their quarterback position had been so volatile.
Will Levis, great story, comes in. Tannehill hurt. It kind of ended this week. Titans couldn't do very much at all against the Tampa Bay team that I don't think is all that good.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, in that division, the teams that are rising are Jacksonville and Houston, and the Titans are just struggling. I mean, defensively and offensively, they've just got a lot of things they got to get figured out, and they don't have a whole lot of time to do it.
San Francisco had hit a bump. They'd lost 3 in a row. Now they're playing Jacksonville. I saw this. It's crazy. I don't know what to make of it, but Justin Fields, everything comes back to the Bears for me, right? So he's missed, 2 or 3 games now? I think it's 3 games. And he has 11 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Here's the Jaguars with Trevor Lawrence, who, Jaguars are pretty good, right? He's only thrown 9 touchdowns and 6 interceptions in 3 more games than Justin Fields has played. So the Jaguars have been pretty good elsewhere because Trevor Lawrence has been very pedestrian.
Yeah, I think their running game has been solid for them, and they've got a really good defense, and they're well coached. They don't beat themselves,
right.
and a lot of times it just gets down to that. We saw that last night. So I mean. The Jags have a good team, but, man, the Texans are rising in the AFC South with C.J. Stroud playing the way he's playing. He's leading.
He's Rookie of the Year, isn't he?
He's easily Rookie of the Year if all goes the way it's been going, but he's leading the league in passing. I mean, it's been years since a rookie led the league in passing, and he's playing. And the way that he's playing, the drives that he's engineering at the end of the game are just not the type of things that you see with a rookie quarterback. Just incredible performance by him.
And then San Francisco, man, did they ever right their ship? Because that was a one-sided ballgame.
It was. And of course, they are getting some of their key guys back. They got Deebo Samuel back in the lineup. Trent Williams, their left tackle, was in that game, hadn't played in a while. And then it doesn't hurt to pick up a Chase Young in a trade and be able to pressure the quarterback the way that they're doing now. It's when they play well, they're a really formidable team.
3 intriguing games for me this week: Bengals and Ravens on Thursday night. Both are needing wins.
Absolutely. Baltimore, I think. They're just a very balanced team. The way that they've been running the football so far this year and the way their defense has been playing, if you look at the games they've lost, they've all been pretty close games. And the Bengals were on a good little streak leading up to this past weekend. So it should be a good game. It's a game that both teams really need to win. I like Baltimore in that game, but it should be well played.
Titans at Jacksonville. Jacksonville's going to be hungry to bounce back, and it's going to be in Florida.
Yeah, I mean, Jacksonville, I think, at home should bounce back and play well against the Titans. These are teams that are very familiar with each other, being division opponents. And I expect that the Jacksonville will hold court at home.
And then Super Bowl replay, right? A replay of last year, Philadelphia and Kansas City. This one's in KC. The Chiefs are a field goal favorite. It's going to be Hurts against Mahomes. 2 great offenses, 2 great teams, all told. And I gotta think Kansas City at home is going to win the game, but who knows?
Philadelphia does play well on the road. They're playing with a lot of confidence. Just hopefully Jason, their quarterback, Hurts, is rebounded from that ankle sprain, because he is struggling a little bit. But their offensive passing game is just really formidable, and that's going to be the test for me: is can Kansas City really defend and hold this offensive attack? Because A.J. Brown has been on a tear this year. And I think that's going to be the key in this game. I like Philadelphia in this game, but it'll be interesting to see if Kansas City can win it at home.
Any other intriguing thing for you?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to when Houston and Jacksonville play. I think that's going to be a contest that I think going to be interesting throughout the rest of the year. When they played earlier, Houston won, but Jacksonville, I think that's going to be a nice test going down the road, I think.
Since we already mentioned Houston and C.J. Stroud, we have to bring this up because Charlotte is now the worst team in the NFL, and they had the first pick with Bryce Young. Sometimes I think people forget players, they get put into positions that are tough, that are almost impossible. What would Bryce Young be like if he were with Houston and their offensive line? What would C.J. Stroud be like with Charlotte and their OL? I don't know. But do you think there's buyer's remorse in Charlotte for picking the wrong guy?
Yeah, I mean, I think the key with any rookie quarterback is what kind of talent you can put around him. And unfortunately, Bryce Young doesn't have a lot of help. I mean, in that offense, they just don't have anybody that scares anybody offensively. And C.J. Stroud has just gone to a team that's really got some good talent around him, and that's been the difference. I think if they can get some players around Bryce Young, I think they see a better performance out of him. He's got a lot to learn, though.
All right. As always, we appreciate you, and we'll see you next Tuesday.
Look forward to it.
That's our man. That is Jeff Moore. He is brought to you in part by the Eflin Insurance Team. So they do this collaboratively. Matt, his team, people like Andrew and Grant and Heath, are going to sit down, get to know you and your family, what's important, what's your budget, and then they will protect you, your home, your auto, and make sure you're set with life insurance. If you've got a small to mid-sized business, same sort of thing. They'll sit you down. They'll get to know your product, your employees, what your budget is, what's important. They may even forecast your business out. And then they will protect you if you've got a small to mid-sized business. The perfect commercial insurance is there after they get to know you. All you've got to know is their number, 901-386-GER, because they're big Tiger fans, 901-386-4777. Get protected the collaborative way. Call the Eflin Insurance Team. We're back. Let's take a little bit of a look at SMU and Memphis. That comes your way in just a minute.
Be sure to follow us at Sports56 WHBQ on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube to watch live video of our shows, stay up to date with station events, and have chances to win prizes. Don't miss out on anything that's going on. Follow us at Sports56 WHBQ.
It's all net. It's through the goalposts. It's a line drive over the center field fence. It's in the cup for a birdie. Your house has closed. All great things to hear, but you need real athletes to have success, or a realtor with fine-tuned business abilities to get you to the closing table with what you want when you want it. I'm Sheldon Rosengarten with Marks Bensdorf Realtors, and my clients have told me that I am that type of real estate athlete. My goal is to not only fully protect my clients, but to also have a winning transaction. I adapt to whatever the field conditions are: rain, sleet, snow, bad inspections, low appraisals. Whatever happens, I'm on it. That's why people often say that when you want the job done, call Shell Done. Find out about my highly successful strategic marketing program with the Shellbucks option, and you will want me to be your point guard, your leadoff hitter, or your quarterback. I'm reachable at 682-1868 or memphisrelocate.com. At Shell Done Rosengarten, 682-1868 or memphisrelocate.com. Do it now.
Score early this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is so easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. I like putting a spread bet together with the over for my parlays, and anytime player touchdown always has me on the edge of my seat. So if you're ready to do the same, visit FanDuel.com/win and kick off the NFL season. That's FanDuel.com/win. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL.
21 plus and present in Tennessee. First online real money wager only. $5 pregame money line wager required. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call TN Redline 1-800-889-9789.
As you know, the holiday season is fast approaching, and as you also probably know, 117 Prime, Memphis' premier dining destination, now has its menu available for takeout. Now, far be it from us to ever suggest that somebody could, theoretically, order a full dinner from 117 Prime and then pass it off as their own cooking at a holiday meal. We all agree that doing so would be unethical. It would be just plain wrong. But think about how much effort you could save by having 117 Prime make dinner, and then you get to reap all the rewards. Again, it would be wrong.
For the latest from the world of golf, tune in every Saturday morning from 9 to 11 for the Golf Shop Radio Show, presented by PlayGolfMyrtleBeach.com, the golf capital of the world. Hosts Mark Greenhelge and Matt Blanchard talk golf from tee to green and everything in between. If you like golf, you're going to love Golf Shop Radio. Before you tee up, drop on in. Welcome to the Golf Shop, here on Sports 56. Real sports talk.
Now, back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM, presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
Big talk all over the city about Memphis, SMU, big game, chance for a signature game for Ryan Silverfield. I hear so much, seriously, all over the place, message boards, all this other stuff about not a signature win, doesn't beat teams that are over 500, only beats the teams that he's expected to beat, and he's done that. That's true. Now, the losses this year, by 7 to Missouri in St. Louis, which was at Missouri pretty much, and they owned the crowd. They had 40,000. Wouldn't have been that much different in Columbia. And they lose by a touchdown in the game to the very end to the same team that just beat Tennessee by 29 points. By the way, what are they, 9 now in the new poll? I think that's right. 9 or 10, Missouri. That's one loss. The other loss is to Tulane, and I think Tulane is the best team in the American. If not, I would have to say SMU is. SMU is top 10 in offense, top 10 in defense in the country. This is a tough game. All right, but Zach, real quick, because I hadn't seen, I heard Greg and Eli talk about this a little bit. What is the line on that game? Because I want to say it opened at like 5.5, but now it's much more, right? What have you got?
Right now, the line for the game, I mean, like I said, this could be changed at any moment. The line is sitting at 8.5, favoring SMU.
8.5. Now, I do believe the line opened up.
It was like
at
7.
5.5.
Yeah.
I think it was. I really do. I thought it opened up at 5.5. So yeah, 8.5 is what I'm looking at here. So it's gone up 3 in their direction. Now you take into account that normally there's a 2 to 3 point swing here for home field advantage. That's almost like a 10-point game. That is a 10-point game, 10.5, 11-point game, right? So that is because, I mean, let's face it, this team has scored 50 points multiple times this year. And if you look at the way Memphis has played defense the last 3 or 4 weeks, even in this winning streak, where they've scored 48 points a game, I don't have it in front of me, but they've given up quite a bit of points. It would not be shocking because I think their coach Lashley, I do believe he is trying to murder people. He is trying to run up scores big time. And if he has the chance here, because Memphis, a couple of years ago in Dallas, this is before he was there, I think it was when Sonny Dykes, who's now at TCU, was there, Memphis put 60 on him. Memphis killed him. It was like 35-0 in the first 20 minutes of the game. In the middle of the second quarter, they were up by 5 touchdowns. It was crazy. And I don't know if anybody's still around from that. That was the Norvell era here. They're going to try to murder Memphis, I think. But if Memphis were to win this game, because Memphis can score too. Now, what's the health of Hennigan? I think he's going to be 100% okay. So will Blake Watson. Will Jonah Gamble, the left guard who's been a starter for 3 years, will he be back? There's a chance. He made the trip last week, but he didn't dress. So he's closer. He's missed 3 weeks. He would help. They've played a bunch of extra guys now. They I think are slightly better in the offensive line now than they were to begin the year. I think they have gotten better. They've run the ball. Blake Watson's been terrific. But SMU's defense is better than any of the defenses that we faced the last 4 weeks in this winning streak. So this will be a fun game. I hope there's a lot of people that are there. If you win this game, we keep talking about this week to week, but it's the truth. That's all you can do is take it week to week. And if Memphis were to win this game, now they're 9-2. And here's the best part about it for me. You go to the champion, you got to beat Philly, and you should. Temple lost. They have no chance, by the way, of getting into a bowl. They have nothing to play for. Usually when that occurs, the will to stay in games and to win games goes down. It's human nature. So they should win no matter what happens. Now, they may have the same, if they were to lose Saturday, they may have the same fatigue. Yeah, no, we can't do it. We're going to the Birmingham Bowl, or, we're going back to Dallas for the First Responder Bowl. So, that can be a bummer if they were to lose.
Yeah.
I still don't think they would trip at Philly, but they have lost games there. Who knows what the weather's going to be like day after Thanksgiving, although it's a morning game. But I don't think it'll be any worse than 9-3. Here's the thing. If they win this game, though, the bowls that you're looking at, okay, that means if you beat Temple, and you will if you win this game because you got everything to play for to get in the championship game. Now, it depends if Tulane beats Texas San Antonio, because Texas San Antonio, which is undefeated in the league, has 3 losses, though. They play South Florida at home, which they could lose that game because South Florida can score. That 6'3" quarterback that weighs 210, he can run, he can throw. They got offense, and they got a good defensive line. They could lose that game, or I think Tulane will beat them. And honestly, Tulane has to beat them. Memphis must win the next 2 games, and Tulane has to beat Texas San Antonio at this point for Memphis to get into the championship game. Now, if you are in the championship game against Tulane, if you win, depending on what happens with these voters, will they let James Madison become bowl eligible? They've appealed. Would they let Liberty? Liberty's going to be undefeated. I think they'll be 13-0. Would they take a 2-loss Memphis? The only 2 losses would be to Missouri and Tulane. Would they take those 2 losses over a perfect Liberty that really didn't beat anybody? I don't know. Let's just say that they would. So if you win the championship game, you're going to the Fiesta Bowl. If you lose the championship game, I'm pretty sure now the loser is affiliated with Fenway, the Fenway Bowl, to play an ACC team. That'd be okay. Play in Fenway Park. Now, it's in December. It'll be cold, but it's unique. It's unique. I mean, that's kind of cool. So if you win Saturday, there's pretty good odds you're either going to the Fiesta Bowl, big payday, and you've won a championship, or your consolation is go to the Fenway Bowl and play in historic Fenway Park against a really good challenger and more notoriety. That's pretty darn good. But it all comes down to Saturday, where the Tigers are big underdogs. And they're big underdogs for one reason: defense.
Yeah. That's really the last few weeks.
Yeah.
Defense hasn't been nice.
So we'll see what Matt Barnes can put together this week.
Now, I will give it a consolation, though. The Tigers, for the most part, with the morning kickoff games, they fared pretty well.
Yeah. Well, it'll be 12. Are we calling that more? It's 11 here.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, the morning.
So, but it's noon in Philly. What do we call it?
Well, I don't know.
I'd say we call it morning. If it helps us, we'll call it morning.
Yeah, but
our body clocks are going to be 11, right?
Right.
Okay, we'll go that way. Last thing, Tigers in Atlantis, because we're just talking. Of course, they got to take care of business against Alabama State and Tony Madlock's team on Friday, which will be the last time Rick Stansbury is going to be your head coach. But the Tigers play Michigan If they win, they play the winner of the Arkansas-Stanford game, which is most likely going to be Arkansas. So, if you were to win those two games, I mean, you got, by the way, you just missed in the polls. You're 26. So you're the number one also receiving votes. You win those two games, you're locked into the top 25 at a pretty good position. If you lose, then you have to take 2 out of 3. The upper bracket there is North Carolina. I think it's Northern Iowa, Villanova, and Texas Tech. So,
and Nova lost to Penn University last night.
Yeah, so. Nova's not quite been there since Jay Wright left.
No,
not quite the same. But all of those, take out Northern Iowa, those are pretty good schools. I doubt you'd play one of them. Most likely you're going to end up with Northern Iowa or Villanova, Texas Tech. But anyway, 2 out of 3 with a win over Michigan. And Stanford, most likely. Or, no, you wouldn't play Stanford. You win Michigan, you play Arkansas. And I think Memphis is certainly going to beat Michigan. That's my sense. 2 out of 3 there. Not quite. Maybe you're still also receiving votes, but you've got a couple of signature wins already over big schools, Michigan and Missouri, and you're feeling a little bit better about getting a seed. And you still got plenty of games to add to your resume to get the seeding. You know what? If Memphis can get 6 or better, that would be perfect. That'll do it for us today. This portion of the show brought to you by Ken Garland Custom Home Builders. We're talking 70 years, 2 generations of the finest home building in our area. Go to kengarland.com. You'll see what I'm talking about. Here's the thing about Ken. His dad did this before him. 70 years here. He sees all the little details of everything that's going on, yet he knows the big picture, and he knows the commitment you're making. So he's going to work closely with you, and you should expect this: quality construction on time, on budget. He knows the financial commitment you're making. By the way, if you need land, he's got it. If you've got land you don't know how to utilize, he can do that. If you want to stay in your home, you love your lot, you want the modern amenities, he's the king of renovation with innovation. All the new modern amenities he'll put into your older home. All you got to do is call, and that number is simple, 751-1632. If you're ready to build the dream home, call Ken Garland Custom Home Builders. We'll see you tomorrow morning. Johnny Radio is next. Have a great day, everyone.